We're delighted to offer you a short video on SEN support, which is really about getting the right support in school for your child. Quite often when you get a diagnosis, it's very difficult to know what a school is supposed to do to help you and to encourage your child to access the curriculum. We're delighted to have Cécile Remy from the Kids SENDIASS service to actually explain some of this to you. If I can hand over to Cécile.
Every school, whether it's a school funded by the local authority, an academy school or an independent school, has to follow the SEN Code of Practice. The SEN Code of Practice has been written in September 2014 to reflect the changes in the law that were put in place to implement the new education, health and care plans. Now, the Code of Practice makes it very clear that when a child has got special educational need, the teacher, the SENCO at the school, also called the inclusion manager, have to look at 4 broad areas of need for that child. One area is sensory and physical, which is any physical need with mobility, or maybe sensory processing difficulty, such as difficulty hearing and processing sound, or maybe processing touch, also movement. Language and communication is another of those broad areas of need. And when a child may have autistic spectrum disorder, that's very important. It's both the interaction, the communication, as well as more specific aspects of language, such as maybe being able to retrieve certain words, understanding instruction. Another broad area of need is social and emotional need. When a child is anxious or the child maybe doesn't know how to interact with his peers or the other teacher, it does affect the learning. And therefore the school has to put in place some support to help them in that area. Finally, the last broad area of need is cognition and learning. This is usually assessed by an educational psychologist, and it has to do with things like memory, being able to pay attention to things, and we'll look at how the child accesses the curriculum in areas such as math and English. Now, the Code of Practice also speaks about a plan that the SENCO, the teacher, in consultation with the parents and the child, have to put in place. That plan, it goes through 4 steps. The first one is assess, then plan, do, and review. The first step, assess, is obviously trying and understanding what the needs of that child are. The second is planning the type of interventions that can be put in place. Then doing, so putting those in place, and then reviewing them. And that stage is very important, as everybody needs to know and understand whether the strategies are actually helping the child, or if actually the needs of that child are greater or different from what was first thought. Therefore, this is a cycle that sometimes has to be repeated several times. And here I would like to show you a few different types of intervention that can be put in place through this SEN support plan. For example, there can be small group work, there can be a special learning program that may be recommended by a specialist. There can be extra help from a teacher or learning support assistant, some material, equipment such as maybe a wobbly cushion or writing slope. There can be observation and recording to try and understand exactly what is it that the child is struggling with. Some peer support, maybe in the playground, at our more informal times during the school day. Some help from an educational psychologist, and some maybe physical or personal care depending on the need of the child. So all those things can be put in place. It's not prescriptive, and it's depending on the need of the child. The last thing that's important to understand when thinking about a support plan for a child is how it is funded. The first thing that one needs to know is that every child in England receives a certain amount of funding that's called the age-weighted pupil unit. It's depending on the age of the child as well as where the school is situated. Then the SENCO has access to a certain amount of funding that's called SEN support funding, and that they can use as they see fit to put in place those SEN support plans that I just described. that funding, when as a parent you may be asked to meet with the SENCO or the teacher at the school, that is what is going to be used to put in place the SEN support plan. Finally, and I will talk about that a bit later, it may just be that this support plan is not enough. It's important to know that there needs to be clear evidence that the assess plan review, do and review cycle has been gone through several times in order to access a higher level of funding. And at that stage, it may be that this child will be eligible for an education, health and care plan. There is a clear timeline to request an education, health and care plan with the local authority to assess whether or not the child would actually benefit from being supported by such a plan.